keeping bikes in stock is always a big problem. But guess what? I've just introduced 5 new bikes to Bolton e-bikes, and every single one is in stock. We're constantly looking at our options for more and more bikes, not only so we can have inventory, but so that we can have more variety, like for example, this bike with a torque sensor. But I can't do all of that alone, so that's why I have brought on yet another brand, this time a company called Magnum. Now they do have more than just the 5 bike models I have here, which we'd be happy to special order for you. But as of the release of this video, these 5 models are bikes that we're going to have in stock. There are 2 things about the Magnum bikes that are the same between all of their models. One is that they all have hub motors, so no mid-drives here, which is okay because we have a couple of brand new mid-drive bikes. If you are looking for a full suspension, carbon fiber, mid-drive mountain bike that's going to compete with some of the big name brands, that's not going to be for this video. And the second thing about Magnum bikes that's the same between all models is that every single bike has hydraulic brakes. And I guess I should throw in a third thing that I like about these is the battery capacities. The Magnum Ranger behind me, for example, has a 21 amp hour battery. But let's start out at this end with the most affordable bike from Magnum that we're going to offer, the Cosmo X. So the Cosmo X is actually a new bike for Magnum, not just for Bolton e-bikes. So this is a brand new model. It is a 500 watt rear hub motor, pretty decent sized 15 amp hour battery, front suspension fork by Suntour, the hydraulic brakes I already mentioned. The displays on most of these bikes are pretty similar. A lot of information on here. Battery level, you have the pedal assist settings, which instead of using numbers, they use Eco, Tour, Sport, Turbo, and Boost. You have max speed, average speed. It shows your actual wattage when you're riding. They're using a 7-speed Shimano shifter, a thumb throttle. There's a horn built into most of their models. The fenders do come standard, and the rear rack is standard as well. And then of course we have both front and rear lights. Now you might be interested to see how this compares to something like the Aventon Level, which is also kind of a city style commuter bike. And the big differences for this would be the battery capacity is a tiny bit bigger. The rack is something that comes standard. So this is basically just a step above as far as specifications for a slightly higher price. The retail on this one is $21.99, but of course we are having a sale on the bikes, not just because we're launching them, but because of the Black Friday sales going all month. So this one is $200 off, bringing it under the $2,000 price point to $19.99. 500 watt bike, but it seems to have plenty of power and in stock right now. And next up we have the Magnum Pathfinder, which if you've looked at Magnum's bikes before, you might think that this looks familiar. And there are a couple other versions of the Pathfinder. There is a 350 watt version, which I have no intention of carrying because we need more power. And then there's a 500 watt version with a smaller battery than this, but we need more range. So I have opted for the brand new, another new model for Magnum, torque sensing Pathfinder. So this one comes standard with a 17.5 amp hour battery. You've got these 3-inch wide street tires, so this is gonna roll really nicely. It's a fairly small, compact bike. If you're somebody in the 5 foot to 5'6" range that's looking for something with a nice low step through, that's easy to get on and off. I only have 2 of the colors unboxed and set up here, but they do come in even more color options than just these 2. But this is just a very classy, smooth riding, again, hydraulic brakes, 500 watt motor, but a torque sensing bottom bracket. The rear rack is integrated into the frame. It has a wired in tail light, fairly small, discreet display. This one also has the built-in horn. probably one of the biggest requests I get is more sizes, whether that's bigger or smaller, usually smaller, and this fits the bill. The only thing that's not small about this bike besides the 17.5 amp hour battery is this massive, super heavy duty kickstand. The torque sensing version of the Pathfinder is $24.99, again on sale right now, $200 off and in stock. Next we have the Nomad, although right in the middle of the price range of the 5 bikes that I've brought on. This is actually the one that caught my eye first. It reminded me a lot of our Sabre model, which if you'll recall is a fat tire but a mid-drive. And the Sabre has been a great bike for us. The only problem is I haven't been able to keep them in stock. They're currently sold out and on pre-order for spring of next year. So we are getting more of those, but I don't have them available right now. Those are about a $2,800 bike right now, 1,000-watt mid-drive, big battery. But if you want a bike now, I don't have it. With the Nomad, you're getting a very similar style of bike. It comes with a rear rack like the Sabre. It has a step through like the Sabre. It's still a full-size 26-inch fat tire bike like the Sabre, but it has a 750-watt Bafang hub motor instead of the 1,000-watt Bafang mid-drive. So basically you can save yourself a couple $100 by going with a hub motor instead of the mid-drive, and you can get something right now. So those are 2 reasons it made a lot of sense to bring this bike into our lineup. Now, if you're wondering how does this compare to, say, the Aventon Adventure, because that's also a step-through 750-watt motor, you know, what is the difference? And kind of like the Cosmo, there are some things that come standard on this bike that don't on the Aventon. One being the rear rack. The stem is adjustable and very upright. So this is a very upright bike, even more so than our Sabre model is with its adjustable stem, because the handlebars have a bit of a rise. And then the battery capacity is bigger than the Adventure models at 17.5 amp hours. The Nomad also comes in 4 different colors. I've only unboxed one of them so far, but I already have the other 3 colors sitting here in stock. So again, something you can pick up, buy right now. And with these last 3 bikes, we're going to 750-watt motors, and we are discounting them a little bit more for the Black Friday month sales. So these bikes are going to be $250 off. And before I move the Nomad, you may notice that both the Metro 750, the white one next to it, and the Nomad are looking fairly straight and upright right now compared to the Ranger. Now, most of the bikes have a kickstand on the side, but you'll see that these have a very beefy center stand. Just another small touch that makes both of these really nice bikes. Now, if you love everything about the Nomad, but you don't actually want fat tires, ta-da! That's what the Metro 750 is a perfect fit for. Now, something I didn't mention yet is that these mounting holes right here on the Metro 750, the Magnum, and the other 3 bikes I've already shown you, these are all designed for a front rack. But with the Metro 750, you're still getting a suspension fork, you're still getting an adjustable stem for comfort, you still got the hydraulic brakes, you've still got a nice powerful 750-watt motor. You do get a slight bump up in battery capacity. This one goes up to a 20 amp hour. Now the price does go up a little bit. The retail on this guy is $26.99. Again, $250 off right now as we introduce the bikes for Black Friday. Comfy gel seat, just a good, classy looking, powerful 750-watt bike with a big battery. You guys know that I like power, I like long range, and this one just checks all the boxes. And finally, also at $26.99 is the Magnum Ranger. Now this bike is a little bit different. At first glance, you might think, oh, it's just like the Nomad, but a step over, but it isn't. Yes, it has a rear rack. Yes, it has fat tires. Yes, it has a 750-watt hub motor. The battery gets a little bit bigger still at 21 amp hours. So that is an awesome battery capacity to have. You still get the adjustable stem, handlebars with a nice rise to them, so super upright, comfortable position. But when we talk about riding position, that's where things change. And what you need to look at is the position of the cranks. Now, normally on a bike, if you look behind at the Metro, here's the saddle. There's a seat post going straight down, and there are the cranks right there at the bottom of the seat post. That is usually where you have the cranks. Now here on the Ranger, there's the seat post. You come down, well, that's where the cranks would be on another bike, but no, the cranks are way out here. This is very similar to the Cheetah model in that it is a crank forward design. So the pedals are out in front of you. The best way I can describe it, if you've never ridden a crank forward bike, it's kind of like sitting on a recliner chair. Your feet are out in front of you a ways, making it a very relaxed, laid back riding position. Pedals are out in front of you. The handlebars can come up towards you quite a bit, so you're really laid back. Like I said, very similar to the Cheetah. And I thought this bike made a lot of sense to introduce to you guys because the Cheetah bike is super comfortable. There are two requests I have for it, however. One, can you make it not look like a motorcycle? There are people that love the comfort, but just don't want an e-bike that looks like an old classic motorcycle. Totally understandable. I love the look, but I also know that's not for everyone. So with this, you get that same type of riding position without the kind of unique style of the Cheetah bike. The second request I always get for the Cheetah is a suspension fork, which this bike comes standard with. If you're looking for a bike to ride on a nice long Thanksgiving weekend, again, these are in stock. You can come pick them up right now. If you're excited about any of these bikes or the full suspension models that I hinted at, make sure to hit that like button, hit subscribe, stay tuned. And if you want to know more about the Aventon bikes that I introduced last week, you can go check those out right here.